Good morning, fifth graders. Today we are just continuing with what we did yesterday. So we are on page 83 of your student journal. And our goal or our objective is going to be pretty much the same. That today I will use scaled planes. Okay. So we're not really going to worry about our vocabulary or our notes or steps, but we are going to add the one rule that we keep saying is remember, we always write XY on top of an ordered pair if they give it to us. And if they give us the point and we're supposed to be filling in the ordered pair, then we're still going to write XY on top to help us. This is a must. Okay, you will, I promise you, you'll make less mistakes if you do that. If you get into a really good mathematical habit of that, it will save you from problems later. Okay, so I'm going to put back down my green pen, and I'm going to do a couple of these. So my first one says graph 4, 8. So my ordered pair is 4, 8. So remember, I'm always starting with XY. Now notice how small those digits are. A 4 and an 8. And then notice the scale here. So for my x-axis, my scale is ones. They're counting by ones. Because if your x-coordinate is only 4, you don't need to scale this plane. The scale of 1 is good enough. It will fit. And notice the same with my y-coordinate. Because my y-coordinate is small as well, the scale of my y-axis is also just by ones. So we only scale our coordinate planes when we need to. We don't do it just randomly for fun. There has to be a purpose behind it. So here, there was no purpose because both of the coordinates were very small. Okay, so now I can just plot it. So on my x-axis, and they labeled it for me, I'm looking for the 4. On my y-axis, and they labeled it again, I'm looking for the 8. And where do they meet? Right there. Okay, let's look at our next one. Here, they're asking me what point this is. And again, when I look here, what do I notice about my x-axis? The scale, again, is only counting by ones. And again, my y scale is only counting by ones. So my scale is very small on both. And they already labeled my x and my y for me. So I know that when I find where the point is, my ordered pair is going to look like that. So my x is a 2, and my y is a 1. Okay. Let's turn the page. We're on page 84, and let's try some together. Okay, so again, they don't ask us to, but we're gonna just step up and do a little bit more work because it'll make us better mathematicians. So they want us to graph this. Let's put in our XY. And I want us to look at our x-axis. It's not labeled, so we could label it. And our y-axis is not labeled either. So let's label that. And here's our origin, remember? Okay, so they don't ask us, but I want you to write it. And when you fill in your Google form, it's going to ask you for this. So what is our scale of our x? What are they counting by? So our scale is 20. They're counting by 20s. And then what is our scale of our y-axis? So 0, 50, 150, they're counting by 50s. So those are our scales, and remember, they don't have to be the same. So you actually see that on a lot of tests. They'll say, does the scale of the x-axis and the scale of the y-axis have to be the same? No, they don't have to be the same. Okay, so let's graph this. On our x line, we want to look for 100. And on our y line, or axis, we want to look for 250. So what do we see? Right there. There's our spot. Okay, let's look at our next one. And this time it says what point is shown on the graph. So again, we are going to step up and do more. So let's look at our x, which is not labeled. We'll label that. What's our scale here? Hopefully you are ahead of me and wrote 2. And what is our scale of our y, which is not labeled, so let's label that, is counting by 4s. Okay, and when we're going to write it, we know it's going to be parenthesis, x, y with a comma. So my x is 14 and my y is 28. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, today, since it's our second day of this, you have a couple more pages than normal. You're going to be doing page 85, 86, and 87. And challenge yourself to write the scale. It only takes a few extra seconds. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.